Live from the Marvin Network, this is the BIS podcast, where our goal is to bring you updates on technology changes, local government updates as well, and also to mix in a little bit of fun so we can help you and your team grow. Welcome in, everyone, again to another edition of the BIS podcast. Josh Green, your host as always. And on today's episode, we have our own Brandon Lewis on with us, favorite guest of the podcast, to talk a little bit of cyber safety and just to make sure that everyone stays up to date in cyber security and make sure you stay cyber safe as we are, in the still in the beginning of the new year of 2024. But Brandon, first off, glad to have you on again, and again, always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I appreciate you bringing us back. Talking about myself as us, that's kind of weird. But thank you for having me back to talk about cybersecurity.
No problem at all, Brandon. Again, it's a very important topic. We always go over it at here at BIS. We go over it at our quarterly meetings, our regular meetings, or anything in general. We're always, wanting to stay cyber safe, and we always want to make sure our clients stay cyber safe as well. And just hearing it from you, how important is it to keep yourself updated for cybersecurity?
Well, let me start off with a couple of facts here that I pulled down from the Department of Homeland Security's website. Every 3 seconds, an identity is stolen. And cybercrime has surpassed illegal drug dealing as the number one criminal moneymaker worldwide. And that without security, your unprotected computer can become infected within 4 minutes of connecting to the internet. Nothing like a little bit of fear right at the top of the show.
Boy, I'm telling you, that was some surprising facts. And
Yeah.
we, you talk about it being kind of the number one leading criminal activity. Amazing, and hearing that. But we kind of talked about it, Brandon, at our quarterly meeting, and we were kind of listening to, just the different ways scammers are coming up with right now of scamming people, especially it comes to cyber stuff. So I mean, if you can kind of talk about it, what's kind of the number one thing? Again, we just began the new year, and what is some of the things right now that people should be on the lookout for?
Well, systems and software and network appliances are really robust now and can protect networks. And what the cyber criminals recognize as the one weak link in any company's cyber protection is their employees. You know, that's why you see a lot of emails. Because it's basically free. I mean, there's really they can automate the sending of emails to lists. When you can click on links and have malware deposited on your machine. It can then scrub your contact list and upload that, and then now they've got a ton of valuable accounts that they can then send emails to, and they can spoof the emails that look like they're coming from anybody. It's crazy how little effort they can spend, but yet, if just a small fraction of a percent of those people respond and they're able to get money out of it, they basically done money for nothing.
Well, again, you talk about, the different ways, again, scamming through your email and
Yep.
stuff like that, and how the importance of it. We can't stress enough here as BIS, as we're your IT provider, or someone else is your IT provider, that, we want to make sure we get out there that if you do click on a link and it's bad, call your IT provider as soon as possible or right then and there. Again, if you don't know that link, the best thing to do is not to click on it or even try to attempt to click on it.
Right. Obviously, employee awareness is the key part here, which is why we have this topic repeat throughout the year because it is so important. A lot of states have rules and guidelines for their appraisal districts and their employees they're required to take annual training as well. The emails is just one part of it. Phone numbers are so ubiquitous now out on the internet. I mean, they can either get it from socially engineering by calling the cat and pretending to be somebody. It's humans' first instinct really is to trust. Well, at least for most of us, and the scammers are going to be trying to take advantage of that trust. It's not every day that we have someone call us and attempt to scam us, but when we do, they can get valuable information to perpetuate their scams. So we got to make sure that training is an important part of every entity's layered protection when it comes to cyber crimes and ransomware, stuff like that.
And what are we doing specifically here at BIS, Brandon? Can you talk about some of the things that we're kind of, especially in the IT field when we're preparing and, trying to look out for these type of things? What was some things we're doing here at BIS to help our clients combat cyber crimes?
Well, I can tell you right now, we're no different than any other target. We ourselves have been targeted with emails. I received a text from someone claiming to be an officer in our company and was wanting me to, go and get gift cards. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your passphrase? And never heard from that person again. Something as simple as that. It's just crazy. So some of the things that we do, obviously, is we do have training that we do for our employees as well. I was talking about a layered defense. So we have devices on our network as one layer of defense that blocks out traffic from other parts of the world where we don't do business or that are known scammer hotspots. We also have integration with our antivirus and our email system, so that way it's scrubbing those emails prior to reaching the user for them to even click on it. And if it does get past that barrier, um, we have a message at the top of the email to say that regardless of what the email might say, this did not come from within our company. So even if someone is trying to spoof our email, and it may look like it's a legitimate email, that message still gets put on that email to let the user know this did not come from within inside our company. They're just minor things that we do, but when you add them all up, it presents a layered defense, right? And so the purpose of that is to deter people or bad actors, or to cost them time, because that's really what they're that's really where you're preventing them from making you a target, is you're just making yourself harder to crack, and they're going to go for the easy target. So we want to harden our profile to the internet, where it's a layered defense. Backups is a key part of that. So if we do lose data, or heaven forbid, things happen, and a client or an entity gets a malware or a crypto locker, because we have a robust backup plan and disaster recovery, the them locking those machines means nothing to us. We just wipe them, start over, and download the data from the cloud, and we can move on. We might be out a couple of days, but we won't be out millions of dollars in cryptocurrency to try and pay to get the ransom for the key to unlock our computers.
And you talk about it, Brandon, again, they are just getting so, diabolical, it seems like, with these new schemes to come up with people. And again, the best thing to do always, you talk about, we talked about email, not clicking on an email that you don't recognize or not even clicking a link. You talk about it too, Brandon, a little bit, is about with the phones and how they're going, through the phone system. As you talked about, you had somebody that you thought maybe was from our work reach out, but again, you sent something and they never responded back. So again, you were able to catch on pretty quick. But again, for those people that may, not know, or something does happen, it's always important to contact your IT department as quick as possible to help
Yeah,
get these issues resolved. As you talked about, we have the capabilities to have your data backed up. And again, you talked about those machines may be locked out, but we're able to wipe them, start over, and again, not have to spend, as you talked about, millions of dollars in cryptocurrency to, have to pay a ransom or anything like that. We have solutions in place to help you, but again, it's always you have to contact us as soon as possible.
yeah, that's the number one thing, is as quickly as possible. And I've had some people be very embarrassed about it, and I can just tell you that it happens to the best of us. But don't worry so much about that, because again, they're preying upon us being um, trusting people, right? And that's what we want to be. But if it does happen, contacting your IT provider is essential, because for us, I know that I can't speak for other IT providers, but for us, we have a variety of tools, and we have a good relationship with our antivirus vendor that can provide technical support, relatively quickly for us to be able to resolve these issues. Some things we can resolve ourselves, but again, it's getting on that machine before that malware or virus or whatever it is has a chance to infect the entire network, other machines, or to cause any kind of serious damage.
Absolutely, Brandon. Again, you talk about it. Again, people are mostly, try to be trustworthy. But again, if something does happen, don't ever be embarrassed. Contact your IT. If it's us or somebody else, contact them as quick as possible. And also just, make sure, again, you could be having a bad day. Something else could go wrong. You get scrambled up in a million things. Don't worry about that. Just always try and contact somebody as quick as possible so we can get the solution resolved. Well, Brandon, we're just about out of time here on this episode of the BIS podcast. So, anything that we need to kind of go over that we haven't gotten to just yet? Again, we'll be speaking to you throughout the year on cyber safety, but anything that we need to cover before we leave today?
No, I just think that if any employee has any questions about cybersecurity in their own organization, be sure you talk to your manager, your direct supervisor, and then again, I can't stress it enough that be wary of incoming emails that may look legitimate, and just be careful and then notify IT if you do click on something.
Absolutely. Well, folks, again, we appreciate you joining us on this edition of the BIS podcast. This has been the man with the plan, the visionary, and one of the most awesome guests we have here on the podcast, and that is Brandon Lewis. Again, Brandon, always a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, no problem at all, Brandon. Again, I thank you for joining us here today. And also make sure you tune in to the next edition of the BIS podcast. And on that, we'll have our own Morgan Ballinger, and she'll be talking with us about online protest tips and tricks. Once again, thank you all for joining us on this edition on the BIS podcast. We've been broadcasting live on the Marvin Network. Again, thank you to everyone. I'm Josh Green. And until next time, so long and goodbye.